Hi, it's Lynda here. Right, so I decided to do a video blog mainly because I was talking to the amazing Liz Green on Saturday night when I was at the National Women Inspiring Women Awards in Birmingham, which some of you might have seen my posts about on Facebook. I was sitting next to Liz and we were having a really amazing chat about lots of things, but one of the things we were talking about is doing video blogs. Liz does loads of videos, and I was kind of telling her how I'm not really keen on doing video blogs. I'm not really comfortable being on video. I know I've said this in the past. I've done little videos of my poems in the past, but I've kind of shied away from it again for a while. I'm kind of okay talking if I'm doing an interview or talking to somebody else and I have somebody asking me questions, but just talking like this to the camera, I always kind of tend to just write what I want to say. Like, I have a lot of stuff that I want to share, a lot of stuff that I'm inspired to put out there, but I tend to write it down in posts and in my blog posts rather than putting the video on and saying it. So I was talking to Liz about this and she said, no, just do it, just put the video on and do it. So Liz, this is for you, I'm doing it. And it's quite fitting that I'm doing something that scares me, because that's what I want to talk about. I've been talking a lot about fear recently in my recent blog posts in particular, which you can check out on my website, www.mangoro.co.uk, if you want to read them. There are more in-depth posts there about fear and my journey with fear, and how through befriending my fear, I've really noticed that I can expand what's possible for me in my life, kind of really expand my comfort zone, and that completely expands the zone of what is possible, what can happen, like literally, like there's a boundary on what's possible for us to experience in our lives. When we reach the edge of that comfort zone, we get scared and things come along and we get scared, and if we say no and we retreat from those things, then we'll never expand our life, we'll never expand what's possible for us. So this has been a real journey for me recently, is not retreating in fear and actually saying, no, that's okay. So part of me's scared, but I'm going to befriend my fear, I can do this. So I talk a lot more about this in my blog post, but this has been my real journey, and I have seen amazing things happening in my life through this process and through becoming conscious of what's going on for me and my fear. And for those of you who kind of follow what I'm doing, you know some of the amazing things that have been happening for me and that keep happening for me over the last couple of years. Really what I wanted to talk about is courage, because it takes courage to face your fears. And the reason why I've been inspired to talk about this today is because a couple of days ago we watched a film, me and Mike and the boys. It's a film called We Bought a Zoo, and it's got Matt Damon in it as the main character, who I think is the most amazing actor. And just as a side note, I've decided I'd love him to play Kyra's dad in the movie version of Awakening of the Dream Riders, my novel. So that's just a little side note that I had to get in there. So this movie, it's kind of got some really subtle things going on, lots of little subtle messages. I won't tell you the whole storyline, you might have seen it. But one of the things that the character says a few times is that 20 seconds is all it takes to change your life. 20 seconds of courage. I really agree with this. This is kind of the philosophy I've been following. I didn't necessarily have the 20-second thing, but now we keep saying it to each other. And he illustrated the point in the movie by telling his children about the moment he met their mother, who in the movie is now deceased. And he explains how he walked past and he saw her sitting in a restaurant, and she was the most beautiful woman he'd seen in his life, and he just really, every part of him wanted to go and talk to her, but he was really scared. And I mean, that's a scary thing, isn't it? What if you're rejected? What if you look like a fool? But he said to himself something that his brother told him when he was a child: 20 seconds of courage is all it takes to change your life. And so he did it. He walked in and he talked to her, and they ended up getting married and having these children, and blah 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 blah. And so when this movie finished, which touched us all in different ways, we started talking about this, and Michael, my husband, he expanded on it, and he actually then told our kids the story of how we met and how he had to take 20 seconds of courage. And I was so touched to hear this story from his point of view, because obviously I was there and I know what happened, but it was really sweet to hear him say it and to hear the kids so interested, and I mean, they loved it. So he told how we met when we were 14, because our mums worked together and I was visiting the town where my mum lived, and and they kind of set us up on a play date, which is quite funny, and I really, really fancied the pants off him, and I went back to the other county where I lived and told everyone I met this boy I really fancied. Anyway, then 2 years later I actually moved to Worthing where he lived, and I went to college and happened to be at college with some girls who used to go to school with him. They mentioned his name. I mentioned, oh, Michael Mangor, I know who he is, and told them about what had happened. So they kind of set us up. One night, Michael was living in his own flat, and he was there having a kind of party with his friends. I was out with these girls, and they took me to his flat, and then they kind of left me there. And I was really, really shy as a teenager. I was 16 years old, by the way. I was really shy. I kind of talked to him a little bit and then sat there awkwardly, and then I kind of ran away. I literally left without telling them because my girlfriends had disappeared. I was really overwhelmed by the situation. I still really fancied him, but I just didn't know what to do, so I left. I walked outside, and this is the part where I just loved hearing it from his point of view. He said that he saw me leave, and he thought to himself, I have to do this. 20 seconds of courage is all it takes. I'm sure he didn't think those exact words, but he knew he had to be brave because he really liked me too. So he followed me outside and he called my name. I was just across the street by then, and it was snowing. I have to mention that because it was so romantic. He walked across the street and he literally just kissed me. I mean, how much courage does that take to just kiss someone you barely know? But he did, and I was thrilled, and I kissed him back, and then he asked me for my number. He had nothing to write it on, and I thought he would never remember it. I thought I'd never hear from him again. He went back to his party. I went off to find my friends. And the next day he called me, and we went out on a date, and the rest is history. We pretty much were inseparable after that, and now 16 and a half years later, we have 3 amazing children, and we are just happier than we even were then. We're truly, real soulmates, and so in love. And it really got me thinking, hearing this story from his point of view really got me thinking, wow, imagine if he hadn't had the courage to do that. Where would we be now? What would have happened? Our lives could look completely different. And if you think back, I think you'll probably find that you've had times in your life where you've just had to take a few minutes or even a few seconds of courage to do something, or to say something to someone, or to just stand out from the crowd and just reveal yourself in some way, even if you worry that it might not go down well, or that, people might not get you, or you might not get the reaction you want, that you just have to do it. And this is the journey I've been on recently, where I've been having to be courageous. I've been having to say things that I know people might not get, people might think I'm crazy, do things that really put me out there, that really, really risk being embarrassed or rejected or failing. There's a big risk in being courageous, and that's what courage is all about. So I really just wanted to say, just imagine how different your life can look when you just take courage. Just 20 seconds of courage is all it takes. That's what you have to think to yourself. When you're in a situation and something really scares you, just think 20 seconds of courage and your life could change forever. It's so worth it.